Hey there YouTube, how's it going? I'm back coming at you today with another 6-scale action figure review, this time of the Knight of Lothric 6-scale action figure. Now this figure is based on a Knight of Lothric from the Dark Souls games. I'll be forthright, I have not played any of the Dark Souls games yet, and I purchased this guy more so because the price was pretty good, I think about $180 shipped. And it looked like a really cool knight. And as you know, most of my collection is ancient medieval empires type stuff. So I was like, cool, I can't pass it up. Let's see what these guys are all about. Now, with everything said, this is, I'm pretty sure, a third-party release, not officially licensed. There's nothing on the box to indicate that it is officially licensed. However, it does say Knight of Lothric all over the box. So maybe they were just a pretty brazen third-party company. Now, he doesn't come with a lot. He comes with his sword, his shield, and a sheath for the sword, as well as this little cloak that you can hang from the back of the figure, which I will talk about when I get further on in this review. The shield looks alright. It's got that emblem on there. That's cool. First, to start off with, one of my biggest nez about this figure is those straps on the shield. The factory used some super wimpy glue sticking those on there, so all these straps just immediately fell off, and I had to go in there and re-stick them, and this strap is the same way, but I haven't permanently re-glued it on there yet with some stronger adhesive, but I will. And that's really the only bummer that I had right out of the box. He also comes with a relaxed hand and a gripping hand, one for both sides. I have the relaxed hand here for the shield and the gripping hand holding his sword. Now, in my collection, I keep that visor down, because with that visor down, he just looks like any typical medieval knight, and that's cool, and that's mostly why I got it. So the visor doesn't go down, but if you are familiar with the Dark Souls franchise, then you may actually decide to pose him with that visor up to show off that cool and unique zombified head sculpt underneath that helmet there. So now let's talk about this figure and what it brings to the table, and particularly in comparison with some of the higher end 6-scale Empire stuff that we're seeing from Model. So I'll say right off the bat, the materials that they use for this figure are not quite as nice as what we see with Model. Starting off with the body, it is your typical true type bootleg sort of a body. So articulation is not super smooth on the shoulders. It sort of, see, clicks with that joint there, which isn't all bad, because all of this armor that you see on him, except for the greaves right here, the van braces, maybe that's what they're called, is die cast. So it is a very heavy figure. So perhaps having joints that serve as ratchet joints isn't the worst thing that could happen. That said, articulation isn't super smooth, but it's not hindered to the point where I can't get him in some cool poses. Talking about everything being die cast real quick, let's take a quick look at the feet there, because those feet are probably the heaviest part of this figure. Solid die cast metal pieces, much like what Model does. And that is really nice, because being the heaviest part of the figure, it is very bottom weighted. So while this whole figure is supremely heavy, even without the display stand, I'm borrowing a FCToys display stand for him because I just like all of my figures in my collection to have a display stand. But even without the display stand, this guy does not fall over too easily. He can hold a pose in your collection, and that's very important for me as a collector. It's very functional. So that's good. Now, going on to the materials used, the metal that this company used for their metal figure is a lot thicker and heavier than what Model used. Now, that's not really a good or a bad thing, it's just different. So expect that when you receive this figure, if you are in fact going to get it. But see what I mean? You can pose him really just fine. And it's not going to be too tough to do it. 2 hands on the sword, good range across the body. I would say that probably the cheapest feeling thing on this guy is the material that they use for that chainmail undersuit. I know that this guy is being re-released in another wave. I'm not sure when the first one came out, but we have recently seen a lot better materials used for chainmail, including just real chainmail. So this double ply mesh stuff doesn't really, I don't know, it looks fine actually as chainmail. I think it looks pretty good, but it doesn't hang super well. It doesn't flow and drape over the figure, so, you know, it's a trade-off, I guess, because this guy also costs under $200, so, you know, bear that in mind. As for what you get for the price, I think it's a great buy, honestly, if you're looking for a knight, or if you're looking for, in particular, this knight from the Dark Souls franchise. My other gripe, if I'm just going to go over my gripes real quick here, are you'll see that the chainmail on the arms gets untucked from that greave, or that gauntlet right there, revealing the unpainted body underneath. Now, this can be mitigated pretty easily by just tucking that chainmail back in after you pose it, or if you even got some paint in there and painted it up sort of a dead blue color to match that head sculpt underneath there. But, you know, it really doesn't bother me too much, and it's more of an only being noticeable when you're nitpicking sort of a thing. When I have him posed up, as I will, with his sword up and at the ready, his shield in front of him, you won't really notice the bare arm from the chainmail. So, that's fine. Going into articulation a little bit, you've already seen me fiddle around with the arms a bit, but they can go forward, you know, up to there. They go out just fine. They go back. Good, completely unhindered double joint at the elbow, and some swivel action. Probably the most hindered part of articulation is in the wrist, and that just depends on how much you get that greave out of the way. If you move that greave out of the way and expose the ball joint a little bit, this wrist functions just fine, as any other 6-skill wrist does. Now, this very hard armor underneath here does mean that he does not have much midsection articulation. However, that is pretty accurate to a real knight in full plate armor. Now, let's get him off the display stand and look at the legs real quick. The hips raise up, completely unhindered, a double jointed knee, and you'll see that there is some gapping in the armor. This is on a joint, this knee pad right here, but it doesn't really fold all the way back into that plate, so not much of a big deal. And then coming down here, you get the foot, which is on a ball joint, which allows for plenty of range of motion. And you'll see that even the ball joint is full die-cast metal. So, as I was saying, it's bottom weighted really well. I actually have my light box on top of a carpet, and I just stuck him down, and he's holding his pose on really not ideal terrain. So no display base. He's holding his pose just fine. He's not going to fall over. So let's get him stuck back up there on this. Now, one of the cool things that I really like about this figure is how easy it is to disassemble the helmet and the armor. It is easy to work with. So that's a lot of fun if you want to switch stuff up a little bit. For the helmet, and probably for the lower legs too, I can just remove these 2 small pins, and off comes his face mask, off comes this part of the helmet, off comes the back part of the helmet, and now I'm left with just that creepy skull face underneath all of that, wearing the chainmail coif. So that is very nice. I like having different options to, you know, be able to adjust things to look exactly how I want them to look in my collection. So that works really well for me. and I like that touch. I like it, how easy it is to disassemble and reassemble the armor. It works out well for making those small adjustments to get things exactly how you want to be for display. So let's talk about the armor itself real quick. As I said, it is a lot heavier than Coup model armor. So the figure does feel at first a bit clunkier to pose and display. But once you start working with it, you will find that it's really not any different. So the leg armor is just held on here by straps. There's nothing really connecting it to the top piece there. You can slide them up. They will just slide right back down. So it's not historically accurate by any means, because the leg armor wouldn't just be limply sitting there. But it does work well for articulation. Also, the leather or faux leather, I'm not sure exactly, that they used in this release is very thick, unlike some of the thinner pieces of leather out there, which over time are prone to wearing down and breaking, which kind of sucks. So I'm going to get him real quick in a pose here just to kind of show you what you can do there. So, quick pose. That took me all of about maybe 15 seconds, but it's an action-packed pose. Stick that helmet on there and he looks like a knight, ready to go. 2 hands on that sword, ready to engage in battle. So that's really about all I gotta say for this figure. I have chosen not to have that cloak on him because while I really like the tabard and I think it clings to the armor well, as it's smushed into the midsection, it tapers nicely as it's held on there by the belt, but this cape does not drape well at all. So yeah, that's kind of a bummer. I'll stick it on there real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Just slide it over the head. I just can't really get that to look too natural. It floofs, it flares wrong. It's not a very heavy material, so I've chosen to not really display that. But after I get that shield, the straps on the shield, stuck on there the way I want to and held on with some more permanent adhesive so that they're not loose and falling off, this figure is really a great addition to any 6-scale knight collection. Or if you're into it for Dark Souls, it's pretty cool for that reason as well. But like I said, I haven't really played Dark Souls, so I got it more so just to serve as another knight to stand amongst my knights. It's pretty cool. I like it quite a bit. It's not going to be a centerpiece. It's not as big of a deal as any of my Coup model knights, but I'll fiddle with it and I'll get it to look really cool. And I think it will serve its purpose in the background of any medieval knight display. So that's why I got it. Anyways, guys, this is a quicker review just to show you kind of what this 6-scale Knight of Lothric is all about. So if there's any questions that you have that I have not answered, please feel free to ask me in the comment section below and I will get at you. Otherwise, stay happy, stay healthy, and keep on collecting. Bye-bye.